Happy St. Patty's Day weekend. Welcome to this Free agency edition here of the Metal Steel Podcast with me, Charles Prodigy Richey. And free agency pretty much started off to a hot start a week ago, last Sunday, earlier in the week, I should say, as the Steelers surrendered a second round pick to acquire DK Metcalf, formerly of the Seattle Seahawks. And more than likely, we're going to see what ends up happening. George Pickens, who's going to be entering the final year of his contract this year, a lot of concern right there how if the Steelers are going to keep him on his last year remaining, see if they can find and try and trade him. Especially a lot though too, as we've seen this past year, where his production on the field is still great, but we just see like a lot of badness right there on the sideline. And you really got to think right now when this trade was made. One of my first reactions to the deal was that it was pretty much curtain for Justin Fields, who because just simply from the fact that Russell Wilson and DK have familiarity in Seattle for Russ's final 2-3 seasons as they were together. And DK Metcalf, who definitely comes with some good legitimacy here in this league right now. Metcalf, like I said, formerly of the Seahawks, who spent pretty much his whole career there. He spent 6 seasons down there, so they're actually there for 3 seasons right there. And he's been caught like over 1,000 yards in receiving yards in half of his tenure there. And 2 years where he had double digit touchdowns was back to back in 2020 and 2021. 2020, where Russell Wilson was considered the MVP candidate for that season during the COVID year. And here we go right now. And you really start to wonder right now, this is another example right now how the Steelers are trying to get away from doing things the Steeler way and trying to trade some draft capital to get someone, which they hardly ever do. I mean, you could definitely argue when they surrendered the first round pick to get Mika Fitzpatrick 6 years ago, back in 2019. The day that it was announced that Ben Roethlisberger was lost for the remainder of the season with the throwing elbow that he suffered in their home opener. So now he's coming aboard to the Steel City. Next question that will bring up right now: what's going to happen with the quarterback situation right now? Now, of course, the Steelers, who Adam Schefter said that Aaron Rodgers emerged as a possibility since there was still a little uncertainty who they're going to be going with at that time. That was reported this past Monday. They're going to be going with Justin Fields or Russell Wilson. Clearly, a lot of people felt from the Steelers' indications, all signs would indicate that they wanted to go with Justin Fields a little bit more. And there was butting of the heads right there with, more in particular, Arthur Smith and Russell Wilson for changing plays at the last scrimmage and just certain routes that were just being ran when they're kind of getting a little bit more away from running the ball. It just the sticking point seemed to be that Cincinnati game in Cincinnati versus the Bengals, where Russell lit up for the Steelers. Where they scored over 40 points right there, and Russell over 400 yards. And ever since then, they just been not nearly the same. They only won one more game a week later versus the Browns, and there they are. So you would figure Justin Fields would be coming back to the Steelers for who they got from him, which would be the 1 year anniversary tomorrow when they acquired him. But today is also the 1 year anniversary when they traded Kenny Pickett to the Eagles, who, by the way, is a Super Bowl champion as a backup quarterback and now is with the Browns, a new home. But we'll get to that in just a second here. But here's the thing, though. Justin Fields, you never really felt like he was truly wowed the coaching staff. I mean, it's just a head scratcher for a lot of people who were looking at from an outside end. I mean, who had the mobility, which Mike Tomlin was critical of Ben towards the end of his last decade there. He gets a 2-year, $40 million contract going with Glenn and the JTS Jets. 2 years, $40 million, $30 million guaranteed. And we'll see. I think right there, I mean, for a guy like Glenn, what he's trying to do with that program, they officially released Aaron Rodgers as of Wednesday. Definitely wants guys that resemble like his attitude, that just wants a commitment to the team. I mean, that people are going to grind it out. I mean, just show overall team commitment, kind of like what Mike Tomlin was about in Pittsburgh. But Glenn with the Jets, and we'll see how this goes right now in the Meadowlands right there for them, trying to figure this out. Aaron Glenn, who's going to be getting his opportunity to coach right now in New Jersey. And here we go. I mean, he's a guy who's definitely a undrafted player by the Jets organization, and who played eight seasons there with including like three of them with Bill Parcells, and of course one season with Herm Edwards. But back to Justin Fields right now. I really felt like right there. I mean, last year, I mean, what was one of the key signs we had there, and now you have a guy like DK Metcalf on here. I think just one of the things. I mean, yes, you were winning with him. He was moving around. He was definitely showing some improvement as a passer right there. Got some strides, but after that 3-0 start, they went into that two-game losing streak. First, the Colts in Indianapolis were one of the biggest plays of the game that really was a death nail in that game was a miscommunication with the snapper and Justin Fields right there, which put him a heck of a bind. Ended up losing that game against the Colts. That wasn't a play that lost the game. It definitely put damage control on them. Even try and pull that game out, like get it to a tie or win that game. They did not do that. Then you had the next week versus the Dallas Cowboys, Sunday Night Football right there, where it was a little bit frustrating to watch. So, I mean, he did get his last victory as a starter versus the Vegas Raiders. But again, I mean, what was one of the criticisms about Justin Fields? I mean, this year, if you really want to get nitpicky and just be truthfully honest about it, was not keeping the wide receiving room happy. Now, I think if Justin Fields will remain the starter last year, if they will stay behind him, would we have seen a guy like George Pickens still be uh, animated, emotional? I mean, Mike Tomlin, I mean, as of late, I mean, for guys, I mean, he's been slowly, I mean, like losing the locker room on the offensive side with the wide receiving group. Okay, with the wide receiving group. And this is what you get. So I think right now, I mean, it's just definitely a real hard what if right there. If Fields will have remained starting instead of Wilson, I dare argue you probably still don't be surprised you've seen the same uh, lashing out, or if not like the this scene, what people were getting concerned about, thinking that this guy is not a Steeler, that more than likely he's going to end up being traded, or just probably play out his last year and really doubt the uncertain future of his stay with the team. I mean, this is the first time in a while that the Steelers really have like a true like a 1-2 punch. I mean, if you really think about it, at the wide receiver position, you probably have to go back as far as to when Antonio Brown and Juju Smith Schuster back in 2017, right there, uh, which I mean, Juju Smith Schuster, who definitely made some incredible plays alongside Antonio Brown. He was able to do great in that role. Definitely just a key contributor right there. And I think, I mean, when they broke up after their second season, And Juju Smith-Schuster was never proven to be like that top receiver, but he was still basically an intricate part of like some offenses. I mean, he's got a Super Bowl ring with the Kansas City Chiefs, but I think that's just how far back you have to go back, like when this receiving core was like on that level was back in 2017, if you really think about it, for those 2 seasons. So now you look at it right now, how do you capitalize off this right now? And I mean, the good news is the Steelers, they did bring back Mason Rudolph right here this past weekend. This was on Thursday, I believe it was. Yeah, it was reported by Mark Garofalo that Mason and the Steelers agreed to a 2-year, $8 million contract. And according to Diana Rossini, the Steelers are expecting to make an offer paying free agency. Earlier in the week, they thought it was going to be for Sam Darnold, but he goes with the Seattle Seahawks, gets paid handsomely right there. And they're starting to build a team right there as they got Cooper Kupp and some other good playmakers coming into that situation. So we'll see. I mean, if he could outdo what Geno Smith did, Geno Smith, who did take him to the playoffs uh, in his first season, not the second season when him and Pete Carroll were last year, actually the last 2 seasons. But you go back to this right now, and and Dyer Racine, who's actually on 93.7 The Fan right now, basically was what a record saying that, and her thought is that Aaron Rodgers isn't giving anyone a discount. She doesn't think Rodgers is signed for less than 33 million per year per Sam Darnold to be signed for. Now, that Rossini on Aaron Rodgers saga, I don't think we're going to get a resolution soon. Of course, when you're dealing with a guy like Aaron Rodgers, I mean, this is a game you play right now. Now, for the Steelers, they're going to have to like plant their feet, stand strong right now, because there's been like a little bit of legit criticism going their way right now. I mean, they just seem like they're just kind of like scratching heads right now, and this is just the frustrating part about being a Steeler fan who's frustrated, like myself, or people who are just being the labeled Steeler fans at the end of the day. And we know Mike Tomlin's, I mean, reputation right now as a coach. And I'm gonna give it like these 4 grains. I'll pull a poll out of it shortly when I finish this podcast. I just want to know because I think there's 4 ways you could look at Mike Tomlin. He is a good coach where he has some winning seasons, pretty good where he's got consistent 500 or above winning seasons with playoff victories, uh, damn good where okay, now you got consistent winning seasons, and you got deeper playoff runs, at least at the minimum, maximum conference championship game, if not being in the Super Bowl. Now, it's hard to be in the Super Bowl these days, but if you at least get the conference championship game, I think, that's damn good. And then great. Now, he has, to his credit, I mean, when he started off, inheriting a guy like Ben Roethlisberger and the defense he had, of course, had a few key instrumental pieces in there of his own, like a guy like Lawrence Timmons, who was a good contributing run stuffer on that team, and some other people. Um, he did go to 2 Super Bowls. I mean, he split. And ever since then, I mean, their last Super Bowl appearance, he's only had 3 playoff victories, which has just been very frustrating. And then just the playoff losing streak that they have been having beginning back in 2016 versus the Patriots. So you look at a guy like Mike Tomlin right now, for him to be successful, I mean, when the most sacred and crucial position nowadays is to have a top quarterback, he has to have someone right now with a top pedigree right now because he has failed miserably. I mean, if you really look at trying to develop quarterbacks, now I don't mean miserably where he's like developing a minute winning mindset. That's not the case. As far as like graduate him up there, where you could like have guys that could like make plays, uh, get this offensive scoring back to high 20 points per game, those numbers right there. I mean, it's just been a miracle to see at least a couple of those games. I mean, starting off earlier this year, but in the midst of that losing streak, they ended throughout the remainder of the season. I mean, that 5 game losing streak. I mean, it was the worst. I mean, since Chuck Noll's rookie year, which was pointed out by Jerry Dulac. So now, I mean, you feel a lot of Steelers fans wearing a lot of egg on their face right now, thinking that this is what's coming down to. This is a team that's like the Rolaids relief of quarterbacks. They're, and you got to be very careful right now. I agree 110% with Bob Pompiani. I even felt this myself too. You don't want to do what the Indianapolis Colts are doing right now, where they desperately had veteran quarterbacks. Where I mean, ever since Andrew Luck retired, I mean, and truthfully, to be honest with you, I wouldn't even consider Andrew Luck uh, I mean, their greatest quarterback. Now, don't get me wrong, he had better, deeper playoff runs since Peyton Manning. He's gotten as high the AFC Championship game, and he was like their last clutch quarterback. But Peyton Manning, at the same time, was more level of consistency, a guy who could convert a lot of third down conversions, get first down throws, who the offense was poignant under him, accuracy. Now he did struggle in the playoffs, but he was able to get one legitimate Super Bowl in his ninth season, and he's a 5 time MVP. So it's like, really, what have you really done since when moving on from Peyton Manning and Andrew Luck, more particularly Peyton Manning? Uh, but truthfully, since Luck. You had Philip Rivers, who they went to the playoffs in their first year, losing the first round to the Buffalo Bills. Then you go to Carson Wentz, which game they had control in the final game of the regular season. They lost, Steelers won, and they were because of that, those main two contributing factors that eventually punched their ticket into the playoffs primarily. And then you go on to a guy like Matt Ryan. Matt Ryan didn't do also well. He pretty much had to retire shortly after that. And then you bring in a guy like Joe Flacco. I mean, behind their quarterback right now of the Colts, and I want to say it's Anthony Richardson. Yeah, Anthony Richardson of the Colts right there, who a guy who got tired earlier this year, who's definitely criticized. He came out of the University of Florida, but he admitted like earlier this year, like he wanted to come out because he was just physically exhausted. So you got to be very careful right here. And I really thought for a moment too, when you look back right now, going on 2 years this summer, back in their preseason, when you had Kenny Pickett, who was making some strides. I mean, coming off that game like late in the season where they beat the Vegas Raiders and then the Ravens in Baltimore, and then came up just short beating the Browns again to the playoffs. Then had that near perfect preseason, only up until that San Francisco 49ers game. What happened? He got smacked in the mouth. Still had some good fourth quarter comebacks, game winning drives that year, but he got hurt versus the Cardinals. Pretty much shelved him for the remainder of the season. He pretty much did not come back. Tried reverting back to the Mitch Trubisky for game or two. That did not work out. Had Mason Rudolph close to pretty much take care of the ball, ride the momentum of a hot run game, and they clicked. And one would argue it was not all that bad versus the Buffalo Bills in the playoffs, but still, there were still crucial turnovers in that game. One of them, which was his, and still gave up over 30 points. So this is where you got to really look at. But anyway, the quarterback position. I mean, if you're to ask me right now, I think they're probably in their situation right now. I think more than likely Russell Wilson will wind his way back up to Pittsburgh, but I'm not very high on it at this point. I think what's going to end up happening, him and if he does come back, him and Russell Wilson will battle it out, Maybe they'll have some time to think about it. I mean, if not, I mean, just bite the bullet for this year. Work with who you got. Maybe you draft someone in your third, fourth round this year. Or if you don't have Russell Wilson, do they get desperate and draft a quarterback right now? Because one of the things too, I was reading up on the Pittsburgh Post Gazette, which was written here by Am Bittner, going by needs, and there was three columnists. One of them from USA Today, Mike Middlehurst, Shorts, um, was liking one of the things I've been hearing since this season ended was like shoring up the needs on their defensive front. Quarterback situation is still tenuous who retreats Russell Wilson. Seemingly the door opens if Rodgers' pursuit falls through, but so long as Pittsburgh can reach a point of comfort behind center, it can be drawn to Harmon, whose penchant for pushing the pocket would fortify a front that has propped up almost entirely by Cameron Hayward. Now, that's a nice pick, but here's the thing too. You also got to look back at when was the last few times when they went by positions of need. I mean, pretty much like with their offensive tackles and Broderick Droids, Troy Fontanu, Kenny Pickett. I mean, then of course trading up for Devin Bush right there. I mean, so far they have not done that well with their first draft pick choices. I mean, the only one you probably like say was like an exception to the rule is Najee Harris, who proved to be a durable back. He is not re-signed with the team. He walked in free agency. Goes up with the Chargers for over $9 million at this point for a 1 year deal. Not by choice, but still, I mean, you really look at their track record. They have not been doing good with their first round picks at all, as far as being like that overly impressive. And Jerry Dulac was saying the Steelers were not intending to resign Najee because the price would be too high, and Harris gets 9.1 with the Chargers. And also, too, Jerry would also add on because of the deep class of running backs, the Steelers believe they can still find a quality back by at least the fourth round. Offensive coordinator Arthur Smith likes physical running backs, but he wants one with good vision. But even Najee Harris was even seeing the writing on the wall too. When Mike Tomlin did try and preach him too, it's a business side of football. He knew his future, his fate was sealed pretty much at that point. Is inevitable. He ends up going to the Chargers, and he was saying too that the Chargers, the physical attitude, according to Harris, was one of the attractions that brought him to sign with Jim Harbaugh and the Chargers. The identity is what makes the plays, the integrity of how it is, and that's what brought me here. Watching the games throughout the season, see how their old line works, how good their old line is, and how they finish, and the integrity that they bring. I feel like that's what makes the plays is the old line. They have a good old line here, so I just want to take advantage. And I wish Marlon back best, thank him. But to be honest, at the end of the day, too, as durable as he was, consistent as he wasn't that wowing player for today's offense that you need. Now, I think this year, I mean, outside of his rookie season, was the best shape we've seen in his life right there. Definitely slimmed down a lot more. Definitely ran with a lot more confidence, quickness to the outside. He did slow down a little bit towards the end of the season. Now, Jalen Ward did start off a little hurt, but was able to come back, get his engine rolling throughout this season, too, by the way. And Jalen Warren, who's definitely a lot of people who, for the Steelers, came as an undrafted free agent back in 2022 out of Oklahoma State. He's signed through this year at least. And Warren right there, I mean, he definitely gives you a lot of consistency. I mean, just his burst. They placed the second round tender on him, according to Post Gazette. And here we go. So right now they also got Kenneth Gainwell, formerly of the Eagles. Not really overall that impressed, but I mean just a rotational mix that they'll be trying to bring. So that'd be another thing right there too. Uh, would it also be prompting them right now? and take a look at a running back. Uh, One guy here on Ann Bittner's article, Garrett Podell of CBS, if I'm saying that last name correctly, please excuse me, and I apologize, of CBS, did say O'Marion Hampton out of North Carolina, running back. Hampton crushed the combine and firmly established himself as the 2025 NFL draft running back two behind Ashon Genty. He registered a 9.93 relative athletic score of a possible 10.00, which is the 14th best out of 1,909 running back prospects from 1987 through 2025. Now, Kenneth Gainwell, who has been a career backup at the running back position via free agency, paired Jalen Warren, a, a former serviceable backfield, but not anyone would fear. So that's one reason why, too, will the Steelers like go a little bit early, be a little bit desperate. I mean, but at the same time, I don't think I'd have a problem with this because I don't mind, like, yeah, you do need some boxes checked off. You need to get some positions addressed, such as defensive front. But right now, at this point, for this team to get any better, I think you have to go with the best available player right now. And if he has to be available, I mean, between him and Ashton Genty, I'm probably choosing Genty if it's got to be your first pick. So what? I mean, and I just don't. I'm not sure right now. The quarterback right now uh, should Aaron Rodgers because just it just seems to think that the parallel right there. He's keeping an eye on what's going on with the Vikings. Now, of course, Aaron Rodgers is definitely ruffling a lot of feathers, taking the sweet time, uh, making people wait. It's still not 100% certain that he's gonna come back and play another season. I doubt he's gonna retire, but there seems to be a lot of connections, like how him and Brett Favre. Brett Favre, remember, he bulk of his career after that lone one season he spent with the Falcons. Remember, he spent his next 17 years. No, excuse me, his next 16 years with the Green Bay Packers after winning three leg MVPs, a Super Bowl champion, and then he goes over to the Jets and coincidentally he goes to the Jets and the Minnesota Vikings. Go figure. I would not be surprised right there. Now, the only thing is right now, you got JJ McCarthy right now. I mean, one thing to pay attention to, I mean, is he's still hurt right now where they're still paying attention for Aaron Rodgers to be an option. I mean, they seem like they want to be building behind JJ McCarthy. There might still be a delay. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean Aaron Rodgers will be a starter, but at the same time, too, I mean, Giants are willing to offer a lot of money to Aaron Rodgers. He seems to be blown away by Malik Neighbors right there, who he could be paired with. But then again, too, Giants have been a dysfunctional franchise, who was one of the original standards of this NFL, who's been spiraling out of control ever since their last Super Bowl victory. And then I mean, that's not really sure. But then again, is Mike Tomlin that much of an attractive piece right now? All the criticism we have given him, including yours truly right here, and I'm not going to back down from that. But how big is Mike Tomlin that sales pitch right now for Aaron Rodgers that they could work together for at least one season? Because he's going to clearly not be here beyond this season. But at the same time, it does go against too, and I agree with Bob on this as well. Everything that he's wailed in on Ben, lack of running around the pocket, not being able to move hardly, you're putting at risk. So you really got to shore up the soft line. So you got a lot of thinking to do right now, a lot. Also, real quickly, some other key notes that were here throughout this signing period right here. They also did they got Malik Harrison too, formerly of the Baltimore Ravens. Basically, they got him earlier in the week, and then also too. Let's see. Yeah, but that was pretty much it right there. I mean, they had some other guys they brought in, and of course, one of the biggest ones was just Mason Rudolph. I mean, just coming back. Not really too surprised right there. I just had a feeling he'd be on his way back up there. Malik Harrison agreed to a 2-year deal worth $10 million. And then you had backup star Ryan McCollum signed a 1-year deal to remain with the Steelers. Made a 53 million, 53-man roster last season after Nate Herbig suffered a season-ending shoulder injury in training camp. And then former Steelers too, left tackle Dan Moore, he gets a 4-year contract with the Titans, $50 million guaranteed, includes $30 million in year one, $50 million in the first 2 years. Jeff Nally and Braylon Crane of CAA negotiated the contract with the Titans president of football operations, Chad Brinker. Titans now have a new left tackle to protect the blind side of whoever plays quarterback. And then you also get a veteran, Darius Slay, Super Bowl champion with the Eagles. He was paired with Terrell Austin with 4 years in Detroit. He's earning his 13th NFL season and played the past 5 with Philadelphia. He started 14 games last season for them. He turned 34 in January because the Steelers a veteran starting option outside Jordan Porter Jr. Steelers have Corey Christ Jr. on the contract, but they are concerned with his injury history. So right now they lose Dan Moore, Dante Jackson, and Justin Fields. The contracts worth total 135 million, but they are definitely on pace to get compensatory picks. More likely that'll be for next year. And remember, they traded Justin Fields. They acquired him from the Bears for a 6th-round pick, which could have became a 4th if he played more than 50% of his snaps. That did not happen. So here we go. We got some decisions to make. Who you feel like the Steelers are going to be getting with their 1st-round pick? I think it's going to probably be either a defense or running back. But I mean, if the quarterback position does fail miserably at this point, I think they may whiff at that one. But then again, they might be desperate enough to go look at a guy like Jackson Dart right there, who's played 3 of the seasons at only Mississippi right there. And right there, he has a career completion percentage of 65.2. He played 1 season in USC, only 6 games, but 13 games he's played for in his last 3 seasons. He has a career touchdown to interception ratio of 81-27. His best coming in his senior season, 29 touchdowns and 6 interceptions, averaging over 10.8 yards per attempt. Now, like I said, it all depends if Aaron Rodgers does decides not to come here and they lose on Russell Wilson. But Russell Wilson's running out of options right now. He may want his way back up here, so we'll see. And that'll be it. But I'm thinking it's going to be defensive front or running back. But again, if it's going to be the best player available, I like the running back for their 1st pick. And sadly, before we close out this podcast, we'll just pay one final tribute. I did it on my Facebook story and Instagram earlier this week. The loss of Craig Wolfley back on Monday, March 10th, at the age of 66. Bob Pompiani did refer that Craig Wolfley was diagnosed with cancer a few weeks earlier. He was drafted after the Steelers' 4th and final Super Bowl of the 70s, played 10 seasons for the Black and Gold, and finished his first 2 seasons with the Vikings. Prior to the rivalry in Pittsburgh, Wolfley was a standout lineman for Syracuse, earning 3rd-team All-American 2 times. Right after his retirement, became a broadcaster for all Steelers games, even still replacing his late friend Tunch Ilkin, who passed away in September 2021, who also played offensive line. I just wanted to say real quickly to both those gentlemen, Tunch Ilkin and Craig Wolfley, especially Craig Wolfley, into the Wolfley family, our prayers, love, and respect are with to the Wolfley family and the Steelers organization, and anybody that was very close to them. I just want to say a little over a decade ago, back in 2014, when I lost my uncle to cancer, my uncle Dave, I was in the world of hurt. I changed jobs towards the end of the year, went to life insurance for a few months. I remember during one of my breaks, I called into the inside the locker room for the first time. I remember seeing them on Steelers.com like the last 3 years. I slowly got familiarity with them. I was listening to the radio play-by-play coverage before I ever started watching I'll market Steelers games at Steelers bar, or before I got access to Sunday Apple ticket. But just listening to the radio play by play and then their show, they just brought so much energy right there. They're just two ginormous men of character, just living the faith of God right there. And just both of them, just true stand up guys. You'll never see anything like them for a long time. I mean, there's a lot of people in the organization, but I mean, just to hear people like voices, like just work for the organization. I mean, you still got Merrill Hodge, who's still making his contributions. God bless him. I had him as a guest a long time ago, one of my sports shows here in Chicago. But man, Touch and Wolf, especially two Steeler brothers, we could definitely attest to that. Reunited again, but man, this is a tough one to swallow right here. I just want to say thank you, gentlemen. You definitely inspired my drive, my focus. I know I've not been consistent as of late, the last 2 years, especially trying to do my best, trying to figure out my goals, my aspirations in life. Still want to keep at it, contributing my podcast here. Still want to work with it. Got my thing branded, but I just wanted to say thank you. I mean, you definitely truly like exemplified what Bill Hillgrove said. And a lot of people preach for our lives. We hear how it's one thing what you earn, but how you give back at some point. And I just want to just give you guys back a salute, and how can I repay that? How I treat others and how we treat others going forward, especially myself. That's going to do it for this edition here of the Men of Steel podcast. Once again, you can check out my YouTube channel, Men of Steel Podcast. You can follow me on Instagram at Men of Steel Nation, and check out my Facebook page, Men of Steel Podcast. As always, leave you. Don't be trolling, be royal. Here we go, serious. Here we go. I got. Thank you for watching the Mass Steel podcast with your host, Charles Pride Richey, here on YouTube. Please make sure to hit that subscribe button. And for all the latest Mass Steel podcast episodes, feel free to download them on Mixcloud, Anchor.fm, and SoundCloud, wherever you get your podcasts.